You've lied to yourself more times than you can count. Tomorrow, you said, next week, I'll change. This time, I mean it. And yet here you are, the alarm goes quiet, the room is still, and the promise you made last night didn't even survive the morning. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's the slowest kind of death, the quiet erosion of self-respect. Because every time you break your word, you don't just fail at discipline. You teach yourself that you are a liar, and once you stop believing your own words, the whole structure of your life collapses. Carl Jung understood this better than anyone. He saw that discipline was never about effort or willpower. It was about identity. And the reason you keep failing isn't because you're weak. It's because you're trying to become someone you don't truly believe you are. Today we're going to change that. And as Jung reminded us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Discipline is identity, not effort. Here's the shift that changes everything. Discipline is not something you do, it's something you are. You don't fail for lack of willpower. You fail because you're trying to become someone you don't yet believe you are. Think about this. A surgeon doesn't motivate herself to wash her hands before surgery. A pilot doesn't need a pep talk to run the pre-flight check. These aren't acts of willpower, they're expressions of identity. The behavior flows naturally from who they understand themselves to be. But somewhere along the way, you learn to see yourself as someone who struggles, someone who starts strong and fades, someone with potential that never quite lands. And every time you try to change through effort alone, you're building a house on sand, because the foundation, your self-concept, is still the same. Jung once wrote, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And that's the real work here, not forcing yourself into discipline from the outside, but awakening the part of you that already knows how to show up. He called this individuation, the process of becoming whole, of integrating all the parts of yourself into one coherent being. And discipline is the daily practice of that integration. It's how you prove to yourself, again and again, that the person you say you are and the person you actually are have finally become the same. Here's what I need you to see. You're not broken. You're just rehearsing the wrong character. And in a moment, I'll show you exactly where that character was born and how to write a new script. But identity didn't form in a vacuum. It formed at the first fracture. The split psyche and why you stall. There are two versions of you living in the same body. One wants to build empires. The other wants to disappear into comfort. One makes plans at night. The other sabotages them by morning. And every day you oscillate between these two selves, wondering why you can't just get it together. Jung understood this better than almost anyone. He knew that most psychological suffering doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from internal fragmentation. When what you say and what you do are at war, your psyche doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it begins to disintegrate. He once warned that the greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents, and the same is true of you. The greatest tragedy of your own life is the unlived version of yourself still waiting to exist. You've felt this, the sense that you're watching your own life happen rather than living it. That's not laziness, that's dissociation from your own becoming. Here's the brutal truth. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you're not just delaying progress. You're reinforcing a neural pathway that says, I am not someone who follows through. Your brain, your body, your entire nervous system begins to organize itself around that identity. The goal isn't to kill one version and keep the other. The goal is integration. To bring both selves to the table and ask, what are you each protecting? What are you each afraid of? Because the version of you that scrolls instead of works, that hides instead of shows up, He's not your enemy. He's your protector. And until you understand what he's protecting you from, you'll keep fighting the same battle forever. Next, we're going down to the origin point, the moment the split began. Because once you see it, you can finally begin to heal it. Reclaiming the protector, shadow work. Let me ask you something. Do you remember the first time your discipline was met with punishment instead of praise? Maybe you worked hard on something and it was dismissed. Maybe you showed excitement and were told to calm down. Maybe you tried to build something and watched someone tear it apart without thought. That's where the fracture began, not from weakness, from pain, because discipline requires vulnerability. It requires you to believe that your effort matters, that your time has value, that you are worth the investment. And when that belief is shattered early, the disciplined part of you doesn't die. It goes underground. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of yourself you've disowned and buried. But here's what most people miss. Your shadow isn't just made of darkness, it's also made of gold. The ambition you were told was arrogant. The structure you were told was rigid. The power you were told was threatening. All of it, still there, waiting to be reclaimed. So here's the work. The next time you feel resistance, don't curse it. Ask it a question. Say this out loud. What are you protecting me from? Maybe it's the fear of trying and failing again. Maybe it's the memory of being ridiculed. Maybe it's the terror of succeeding and losing the safety of staying small. Whatever it is, listen. Because that lazy part of you isn't sabotaging your life. It's trying to save you from repeating old wounds. And when you stop fighting it and start listening to it, something shifts. The war becomes a conversation. The enemy becomes an advisor. And discipline stops being a battle you force yourself through. It becomes a reunion with the part of you that always knew what you were capable of. Reclaiming him gives you allies. Now you need architecture. The cartographer, the mason, the steward. Jung discovered something profound. We don't just have personalities, we have inner figures, archetypes that shape how we see the world and move through it. And when you lack discipline, it's often because one of these core archetypes has gone silent. Let me introduce you to 3. The cartographer. This is the part of you that sees the territory of your life and maps the route forward, not with rigidity, but with clarity. The cartographer knows where you are, where you want to go, and what landmarks you'll need to reach along the way. When this archetype is active, you don't drift, you navigate. The mason. This is the builder, the one who takes raw material, time, energy, attention, and shapes it into something lasting. The mason doesn't work in bursts of inspiration. He works in rhythm. 1 brick at a time, 1 hour at a time. He understands that cathedrals aren't built in a day, but they are built daily. The steward. This is the guardian of your inner estate. The steward asks, what am I protecting? What am I cultivating? What legacy am I leaving my future self? These aren't roles you have to perform. They're already inside you. The question is, have you given them permission to speak? Have you organized your life in a way that honors them? Because here's what happens when you do. Your discipline stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like devotion. You're not forcing yourself to wake up early. You're meeting the cartographer to plan the day. You're not grinding through tasks. You're working alongside the mason. You're not restricting yourself. You're acting as the steward of your own becoming. Architecture is nothing without time. Time is your only material. Time as a covenant. Most people think time passes, but Jung understood something deeper. Time doesn't pass. It accumulates. Every moment you live becomes part of the structure of who you are, not metaphorically, literally. Think of time like sediment. Every choice you make, every action you take or don't take, settles into the bedrock of your identity. A week of broken promises doesn't just cost you 7 days. It lays down a layer of evidence that you are not someone who keeps their word. A month of showing up doesn't just build a habit. It deposits proof that you are becoming reliable, solid, real. This is why motivation doesn't work. Motivation is borrowed energy. It fades, but identity is structural. Once time has shaped you into someone who shows up, showing up stops being a decision. It becomes inevitable. Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that's the uncomfortable truth. Your actions define you far more than your intentions ever could. You're defined by what you repeatedly do, not by what you intend. That's not a judgment, it's a mirror. And if you're honest, you already know what that mirror shows. The question is, are you willing to let time shape you differently? Because here's the covenant. If you treat time as sacred, it will build you into something unshakable. If you waste it, it will bury you under regret. Time is neutral. It doesn't care what you build. It only records what you chose. And if you break that covenant, there's a cost most people don't survive. The weight of wasted time. Here's what terrifies me, and what should terrify you. Every day you postpone discipline, you're not just losing time, you're practicing erasure. You're rehearsing the death of the person you could have become. Think about it. Right now, there's a version of you that exists only as potential, the disciplined you, the focused you, the you who kept every promise, who built something meaningful, who became the person your younger self needed. That version is real. He's waiting, but he doesn't have forever. Every morning you hit snooze instead of rising, he fades a little. Every time you scroll instead of build, he loses definition. Every promise you break, every hour you waste, every moment you choose comfort over courage, you're not just delaying his arrival, you're slowly killing him. And eventually, he'll be gone. Not because he died, but because you never gave him the chance to live. This is what Jung meant when he warned about the unlived life. It's not just regret, it's a haunting. The ghost of who you were meant to be following you through every mediocre day, every broken promise, every year that passes without transformation. And remember his words, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. The growth you're avoiding, the version of you keep postponing, will cost you discomfort. But that discomfort is the price of becoming real. Real hell is this. It's waking up at 60 and realizing you spent 40 years preparing to start living. It's looking back and seeing nothing but potential, plans, and promises you made to a version of yourself who stopped believing you decades ago. Every minute you delay is a brick in that structure. Every broken promise is another layer of evidence. And unless you stop, right now, today, you will become the living proof that you were never serious, that it was always just talk, that the person you admired, the person you claimed you'd become, was just a fantasy you used to make the present bearable. Jung believed the greatest tragedy isn't death. It's reaching death and realizing you never truly lived, that you spent your whole life in rehearsal, waiting for permission, waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect moment, while time, patient and indifferent, shaped you into exactly what you practice being, nothing. So here's the question that should keep you awake tonight. How much time do you think you have left? Because whatever number you just thought of, it's less than that. And the man you're going to become is being built right now, in this moment, by what you choose to do next. Now, let me show you how to stop the erosion and start the building. The 90-second alignment ritual. Here's how it works. You're going to do this once in the morning and once before bed. That's it. 2 minutes total, but those 2 minutes will do more for your discipline than any motivation video ever could. Step 1. Name. Say out loud who you are becoming, not who you hope to be, not who you're trying to be, who you are becoming. I am becoming someone who keeps his word. I am becoming someone who uses time intentionally. Just one sentence. Make it true. Step 2, witness, close your eyes, take 3 slow breaths, feel your body in the chair, hear the room. This isn't meditation, this is presence. You're becoming the witness of your own life instead of the reactor. Step 3, ask. Open your eyes and ask, what is one thing I can do in the next hour that aligns with who I'm becoming? Not 10 things. 1. Make it small, make it real. Step 4, commit. Say it out loud. In the next hour, I will. Now you've made a covenant with the part of you that was listening. Step 5, reckon. When the hour is done, come back. Did you do it? If yes, acknowledge it. I kept my word. If no, ask why without judgment. Then make a new commitment for the next window. Here's what this does. It shrinks the gap between intention and action. It turns your entire day into a series of small covenants instead of one massive, impossible goal. And over time, those covenants compound. They become the sediment. They become the structure. They become who you are. Try it once tonight, then again tomorrow morning, then report back, comment below, and tell me what shifted, because I promise you, something will. But there's one more layer we need to address, the hardest one, the part where you let the old version of yourself die. Letting the old self die with honor. Here's what most people won't tell you. To become disciplined, you have to bury someone, not with shame, not with self-hatred, but with honor, because the version of you that breaks promises, that hides, that scrolls, he wasn't trying to destroy your life. He was trying to survive it. Maybe he learned early that trying meant getting hurt. Maybe he discovered that disappearing was safer than being seen. Maybe he found that comfort was the only reliable thing in a world that kept punishing his effort. Whatever his reasons, he kept you alive. He got you here. And now, his time is done. This is the grief Jung talked about. The sorrow that comes not from loss, but from transformation. You're not losing yourself. You're releasing the version that can no longer carry you forward. And that requires a farewell. So say it. Out loud, alone, wherever you are. Thank you for protecting me. I don't need you to anymore. I'm ready now. And then let him go. What you'll find on the other side isn't emptiness, it's energy. All the energy you were using to maintain the performance, to manage the guilt, to justify the hiding, it's suddenly available. And you can use it to build. You can use it to become the cartographer who plans with clarity, the mason who builds in rhythm, the steward who tends your inner estate with reverence. You can use it to keep the oath window, to honor time, to close the gap between who you say you are and who you actually are. That's sovereignty, not control over others, control over yourself, and it starts now. Sovereignty in practice. Do you know the moment? The alarm goes quiet and the room is still. But this time, inside, it's different. Because this time, you're not hoping. You're remembering who you've already become. Sovereignty isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It's the quiet authority of a person who has finally brought all their fragmented parts into alignment, who has stopped negotiating with their own potential and started living it. Jung spent his life teaching one thing. Wholeness is not about becoming more. It's about integrating what you already are, the disciplined and the avoidant, the ambitious and the afraid, the builder and the protector, all of it unified under one coherent identity. And discipline. Discipline is how you prove that integration is real. Every morning you run the oath window, you're practicing sovereignty. Every time you choose alignment over comfort, you're building the architecture of your inner kingdom. Every hour you keep your word, you're depositing evidence that you are exactly who you say you are. But let me tell you what happens if you don't do this. One day you'll wake up, and the mirror will not show potential anymore. It will show evidence. Evidence of what you built, or what you abandoned. And the man you could have become will be gone. Not because he died, but because you never gave him permission to live. You'll see the years in your face, but you won't see the person you respected. You'll see someone who had every chance and every resource, and chose comfort anyway. And that version of you will spend the rest of his life explaining why it didn't work out, while the truth sits quietly in his chest. It didn't work out because he never tried. And maybe it's worth remembering one final thought from Jung. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. That's the future you're choosing every time you break your word. That's the legacy you're building every time you choose the easy path. And you can lie to everyone else, but you can't lie to time. Time keeps the ledger, and it's already recording what you're becoming. So, here's your challenge. Not tomorrow, today. Choose one person or one situation this week where you've been avoiding discipline. Run the oath window before you face it. Make one small covenant. Keep it. Then come back here and tell me what changed. Because here's what I know. You're not listening to this by accident. The part of you that has always known what you're capable of, it's been waiting, and it's done waiting. The door was never locked. You just forgot you had the key. Now walk through it before time runs out.